Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON Skandracharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Shri Panchatattva ki. Shri Giri Govardhan ki. Sankirtan Yakya ki. ISKCON Newcastle Yatra ki. All praise to this devotees, all praise to this devotees, all glories to this devotees, all glories to Sri Gurudev Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna!
Hare Krishna!
Devotees, sit down, relax. How nice to be here with you all. How nice to not be speaking Russian. Well, it's nice to speak English. How nice to not have a translator. If I stop sometimes waiting for the translator to translate, just be understanding. Okay, so there we go. Look, see, the art of Japa meditation. Let us just begin. Well, let us just begin with some prayers. Nama Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Presta Bhutane Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachari Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vachikapatrubhyas Jagripas Sindhurvyevacha Paritanam Bhavani Yorashmare Namo Namaha Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Devotees, yes. Let's see, how shall we begin? Okay. Let us, can you put on the first page of the, play it, Welcoming, so this retreat is called Welcoming the Holy Names, the Japa workshop. And the idea is, after this, your life will just never be the same again. Yeah. I'm sitting like this because I have to keep an eye on that. To make sure we're in sync. So, okay, next slide. And the next. There you go. A big thank you to the organizers. Here's Grace Chaitanya Vallabha Prabhu King. Grace Jagannatheshwari Devi Dasi King. Anyone else who helped King? Thank you very much. Yeah, okay. So, let's go on to the next slide. Look at this. So what is a Japa workshop or Japa retreat? It is not about Japa. It is about your Japa and your life in relation to Japa. Next slide. Oh, look at that. So, you are on a Japa retreat this weekend, devotees. Therefore, everything you do here and at home should support your Japa. Okay, so let's just leave it there for the time being. A few introductory words, devotees. Right, so Japa. This retreat, this workshop, is about Japa. And Japa, of course, is a very important, not just very important, and essential part of Krishna consciousness, of the whole process. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, we are told, said that, or sort of raised a hypothetical or rhetorical question. What is Krishna consciousness? What is it? What is Krishna consciousness? And Srila Prabhupada, we are told, answered, Krishna consciousness is the development of a personal relationship with Krishna, disguised as a process. That is interesting. Maybe you need to think about it a little. Yeah, it looks like a process. Even Prabhupada referred to it as a process on many occasions. But it's just sort of, the colloquial use of language. What is Krishna consciousness really, in essence? What is it actually about? It is about developing, redeveloping our personal, but unfortunately forgotten relationship with Krishna. And what is the first part and the second part? And, if there are 100 parts, the 99th part and the 100th part and all the other parts in between, chanting the holy names of the Lord. Harir Nam Eva Kevalam. Yes, when Lord Chaitanya received initiation from Ishvara Puri in Gaya, then Lord Chaitanya immediately after asked him, what should I do now? And Lord Chaitanya suggested, should I get into philosophical discussions? Sort of means like dry philosophical discussions about dry philosophical subject matters with dry people and sort of dry out. And Ishvara Puri responded, you can read it in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He told him, no, what you should do is Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nasjeva, Nasjeva, Nasjeva Gatir Anyatar. I don't need to translate that. Yeah. That's what you should do. And that's what Lord Chaitanya did. Yes. So yes, that's what it's all about. It's all about chanting the holy names of the Lord. Now, when it comes to chanting the holy names of the Lord, of course, there are different ways, different types of chanting, different ways to chant. Of course, the main two is Japa and Kirtan. In some schools of thought, some Gaudiya Vaishnava schools of thought, they also include another type, which they call, some of you may be familiar, Dun. Have you heard of Dun? It's more like bhajans. Yeah. Glorifying the Supreme Lord. So, but for us, anyway, we know of Japa, we know of Kirtan, these are the main ways. These are the ways we chant Hare Krishna. And, well, we just noticed, we were just having a little introductory, little Jai Radha Madhava, a bit of Hare Krishna just some minutes ago, and we noticed that so many devotees, after a little while, they were dancing. I think it's more the influence of Prem Sankirtan. But these things happen. These things do happen. Devotees are sitting down, it's going on, and then they get up and they start dancing. Devotees, tell me, have you ever seen devotees chanting Japa and dancing like that? I think perhaps not. If at all, it's rare. I remember in Berry Place, the old London temple, in Prabhupada's time was probably 74, something like that, might even have been 73. There were a couple of devotees, they sometimes would dance while chanting Japa. But otherwise it generally doesn't happen. And that would lead us to think that Kirtan is more than Japa, because it seems, I mean, obviously, that the devotees, at least on a certain, very clear level, they get more. It's just, the impact is more, and it's just more stimulating, which is fine. But you may have noticed, devotees, that when devotees take vows, which is generally at the time of first initiation, like openly stated, publicly stated vows, we vow to follow the four regulative principles. That's like a negative vow. We will not. It's a four no's. But there's only one thing we vow that we will do, and that is to chant not less than 16 rounds a day. Other than that, even when someone takes sannyas, they don't, it's just the vows are just understood. The vows are not stated, like a vow of celibacy. It's not stated, it's just understood. So the only vow, generally, which devotees take openly, publicly, in front of everyone, is to chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This must mean something. It must mean something. It's not arbitrary. Just, why not? Let's just do this. It means something. It means that chanting of Japa is of some particular importance, even you could say unique importance. We do not vow to have kirtan. We do not even vow to read the books. I mean, of course, these things are understood in a sense, but that people could take vows to do these things. Why not? But we don't. But we do vow to chant not less than 16 rounds a day. So, we are suggesting to all you nice devotees here this evening that this signifies a great importance in the chanting of Japa. Yes. That if, sometimes we meet devotees and sort of discuss and even counsel devotees regularly. And if we find a devotee is not chanting their 16 rounds, then, the devotee invariably feels like, I'm not chanting my rounds. Wow, and it's a problem. And we may ask, well, how many rounds are you behind, for example? is such a focus. But if someone hasn't read Prabhupada's books for a week, which happens, devotees get busy, it's not the same thing. Like, I haven't chanted Japa for 1 week. That's really something. I haven't read Prabhupada's books for 1 week. I mean, it's something. But it's not like that. I haven't been in a kirtan for 1 week. Oh! Krishna, forgive me. So, of course, we should be in kirtan also. Obviously, we must. But sometimes life is like that. Particularly if you're a working person and, you've got responsibilities and maybe you have to travel around or something like that, it may happen. You're not in a kirtan for a while. But it's not like a crisis. But if you haven't chanted your rounds for a week, it's a crisis. And if you didn't know that, then it's really a crisis. It's worse. It's a disaster. Yeah. And actually, if you don't chant your rounds, you'll basically fall down from Krishna consciousness if you haven't already. Yeah. So I'm just making the point in principle that the chanting of Japa, even though, you could say it's not as exciting, stimulating as a kirtan, which is also chanting, but it does have this special significance attributed to it, or it just is there in it. It's really so important. So, anyway, so there you go. Let us just try and meditate a little bit on that subject. Let's see, I've got a few quotes here from Prabhupada. Let's see here. Well, this is from, I'm going to read to you verse, what am I doing now? Adi Leela, chapter 17, verse 21. Is it, or is it verse 24? It's chapter Adi Leela 17, either 21 or 24. So listen to this, devotees, this is the verse. This verse repeats the word Eva, certainly, 3 times for emphasis, and it also 3 times repeats Harinama, the holy name of the Lord. Just to make common people understand, this is, who is this? This is now Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, if I remember correctly. So, purport by Srila Prabhupada. To emphasize something to an ordinary person, one may repeat it 3 times, just as one might say, you must do this, you must do this, you must do this. Thus, the Brihad Naradi Purana repeatedly emphasizes the chanting of the holy name, so that people may take it seriously and thus free themselves from the clutches of Maya. It is our practical experience in the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world that many millions of people are factually coming to the spiritual stage of life simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra regularly according to the prescribed principles. Therefore, our request to all our students is that they daily chant at least 16 rounds of this Hare Nama Mahamantra offenselessly, following the regulative principles. Thus their success will be assured without a doubt. Okay, here's another one. Now this is Madhya Lila 782. If you want to, you can note it down. Upon seeing the chanting and dancing of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda predicted that later there would be dancing and chanting in every village. So, purport. This prediction of Sri Nityananda Prabhu's is applicable not only in India but also all over the world. That is now happening by His grace. The members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are now traveling from one village to another in the Western countries and are even carrying the deity with them. These devotees distribute various literatures all over the world. We hope that these devotees who are preaching the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will very seriously follow strictly in His footsteps. If they follow the rules and regulations and chant 16 rounds daily, their endeavor to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will certainly be successful. 16 rounds. Here is, well, the Chaitanya, this is Madhya Lila 22, 113. So, I'll just read from the purport. The regulative principles should act as servants of the basic principle. That is, one should always remember Krishna and never forget Him. This is possible when one chants the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, one must strictly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 24 hours daily. Okay. Got it. 24 hours. Thank you. Right. One may have other duties to perform under the direction of the spiritual master, but he must first abide by the spiritual master's order to chant a certain number of rounds. Did you get that? One may have other duties, so many other duties, under the direction of the spiritual master, but he must first abide by the spiritual master's order to chant a certain number of rounds. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we have recommended that the neophyte chant at least 16 rounds. This chanting of 16 rounds is absolutely necessary if one wants to remember Krishna and not forget Him. Of all the regulative principles, the spiritual master's order to chant at least 16 rounds is most essential. This is Madhya Lila 22, did I tell you? 22.113. 22.113, Madhya Lila. So there are other verses. There's no shortage of verses in which this point about chanting 16 rounds is brought out and emphasized. This is one of the strongest, actually, this purport. It's actually Lord Chaitanya speaking to Sanatana Goswami. And Prabhupada's purport in terms of chanting 16 rounds pretty much is the strongest of all his purports in that regard. Yeah. Most essential, absolutely necessary. Yeah. You can't get much stronger than that. So therefore we're having this retreat. And of course, we have kirtan melas, we have seminars. I don't know about here, but in Eastern Europe, maybe particularly Russia, but Eastern Europe, say, we have all these festivals where there's seminars. We just have loads of them. And so there's kirtan, but then there's focusing on the philosophy and just Krishna Katha in general. Yeah. But, and they're very exciting. From here on Tuesday, we are going to such a festival in Lithuania. And there will be several hundred devotees. It's not a really big one, but I think it's bigger than any of our festivals here so far. The future is another thing, but so far. Several hundred devotees. And there'll be Krishna Katha, there'll be Kirtan, everyone will be blissful. But then in the morning everyone will gather and chant Japa. And it's not so, it's more difficult. At least it seems so from our interactions with many devotees. So therefore we're having the Japa retreat to facilitate going deeper into Japa and, like developing a taste, more of a taste for Japa. Let's go back to our little slideshow. We're still there. Okay, let's have a look, see. Okay, next slide. How to get the most. This is for you, devotees. What should you do to get the most out of it? Next slide. Can you read it? Anyway, it says participate in the entire workshop. And then the little round balls at the bottom, your bottom left says participate in the entire workshop. And then just across at the bottom right it says plus participate in the entire workshop. Interesting, isn't it? What should we do?
Participate in the entire workshop.
Oh, good. Thank you. Just like we say, we are sort of in the photographic line. We have been for many years. Books and just photos, all sorts of Krishna conscious things, hopefully. And there are 3 rules. If you want to produce first class photos, like pretty much every time, and if you've got the equipment which is capable of it, the first rule, you know what the first rule is? Use a tripod. Okay, that's the first one. Second rule, use a tripod. And the third rule is, as much as possible, use a tripod. Yeah, seriously. I tell you what, been there, done that. So, just like Prabhupada said, if you want to emphasize something, you repeat it 3 times. You say it 3 times. Right. In South Africa, there's a very interesting phenomenon. There's just two of us here, 3 of us from South Africa. If you want to tell someone they must do something now, then you can say, you must do it now. But in South African English, it means you must do it. You must do it in due course. You must get it done. If you want to emphasize it, you say, you must do it now. It means you must do it quite soon. But if you want to tell someone that you must do it now, you must say, you must do it now. That means you must do it now. Translation. So participating in the entire workshop. First point, participate in the entire workshop. Next point, participate in the entire workshop. Let's get into it. And then, well, if you can you read there? Because it is systematically presented, it builds upon previous information, and their exercises and group work. Just wait for that, devotees. Just wait and see, I tell you what. It's interesting. Okay, next slide. So we go step by step. Next slide. Okay. So here, we're going to be doing, among numerous other things, we're going to be doing like some critiquing of each other and ourselves and of each other and our chanting of Japa. How it is, how it isn't. These types of things. What could be done to improve. So therefore, be vulnerable, be open, don't be defensive, that, don't criticize my chanting. I'll criticize your chanting. But be open to correction. Because you know what Albert Einstein was, supposedly said, but we don't really know if he did, but it's a pretty good idea anyway. He gave supposedly a definition of insanity. Insanity means to keep doing the same things, but expect a different result. Whether it was Einstein or not, we don't know, but it's a pretty good idea. It's a pretty good idea. So here, we want you to be open to change of you. Yeah. Be ready for that and even be enthusiastic for that. Next one. So, you've got to take responsibility. Either you'll get results or you'll get some wonderful excuses why you didn't get results. Yes. Next one. This is an interesting point. Learn the course as if you'll be teaching it. I mean, maybe this is a little ahead of some of you, but one thing which is said, and I've had a lot of experience with it, it's a good one. If you want to learn something, teach it. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. So at least have that idea that I may be going to present this in due course, so I better really take it in. Next one. And this is a suggestion. You've all got your notebooks. Thank you very much. It's just a suggestion. One part for notes, a second part for things to do with exercises. We'll be doing different exercises. And a third section for realizations. And our compiler suggests put your name on your notebook in case you forget your name. And the next one is a really good one. This is very interesting. There you go, look at that. Take good notes because they say, you've heard of them? The ones who say them. It's them, the same ones. And they say, but you'd be surprised, how clued up they are. They say, if you simply hear something, you may retain up to 7%. If you take notes, you may retain up to 50%. And if you take notes and review the notes, here it just says within 7 hours. we would say on a fairly regular basis, you can retain 90%. And let me just tell you an interesting personal experience I had. You know, prior to Krishna consciousness, or prior to joining ISKCON at least, I was a journalist. And I would have to interview people. So I learned shorthand. This was 1969, 1970, 1971. So, and we would be, because there were no, what to speak of, you know, little devices, phones that record things. There were not even Walkmans. All you had, I think, was just reel-to-reels, and you couldn't carry them around to interview people, particularly on the street. So you had to scribble like mad. So I learned that. And some years ago, it might be 10 years ago, I attended the first Japa retreat I ever attended, which was presented by His Holiness Giriraj Swami. And I knew I was meant to present a Japa retreat about a week later in Russia. So I went back into journalist mode, and I was scribbling like mad, honestly, with abbreviations and, yeah. And then I went, and actually, I basically reproduced the whole thing. Yeah. Not verbatim, but definitely, you know, all the information was there. Because I'd taken notes, like really extensive notes, and I'd gone over them. So they, the notorious men who say all sorts of things, this they got right, I would say. And even Srila Prabhupada is said to have said, I've not, seen it or heard it directly, but I've heard that Prabhupada said that in Kali Yuga, good memory means write it down. Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Regarding your realizations, we expect at least, and we certainly hope, but actually we expect that you'll find many valuable gems in this workshop that can and that will help improve your japa dramatically. You'll have experiences and realizations that will be uncommon. Make sure to write these gems down. And then you can keep them with you. The first time I read the Bhagavatam, sort of like 75 to 76, I took notes. I really took notes. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, I've still got those notes, handwritten. And I still use those notes, 45 years later. Yeah. So, yeah, you note down important things that strike you, and then you can keep them with you for the rest of your life. So, okay, next slide. Norms means how's it going to work? Okay, next one. Turn off all cell phones. If your phone must be on for reasons completely unknown to me, and probably beyond good sense, unless you're the temple president, of course, just turn it off. Just leave it at home. I have 2 telephones. They're back at in Sunderland at their place. Yeah. So, no cell phones. Next, we will observe confidentiality. You know, like I said, the slide said, be vulnerable, be open, don't be defensive, but be open to correction, suggestion, even criticism. I mean, obviously well-intentioned, but then what we don't want, you know, we will be asking you tomorrow, at different times in different ways, to explain to another devotee or a group of maybe three other devotees, maybe like groups of 4. We want you to explain your problems in Japa, so they can then give input and advice and suggestions and make analysis like that. What we don't want is that after some days, some other devotee comes up to you and says, "Oh, I didn't know you had that problem." Oh. Yeah? So in other words, when you're in groups and there's some personal analysis going on, confidentiality must be there. It's just really important. Next one. So that's kind of the same thing. Be open to what's going on. Whether or not you can ascertain the benefit, just do it. And don't get into the, why are we doing this? Just do it. Yeah. We've done this many times, and just do it. Next slide. Be present, be present, be present, be present. Every day, every day. You know, normally these Japa retreats go for 4 days. There's an introduction like this in the evening. Then there's 4 full days, the last of which is the 64 round day. You know, our program is different, but still it's a very good program. So we really want you, though, to be present. Otherwise, you know, there'll be a sort of a gap in your comprehension of things and in your experience. Okay, next one. This is a good one. If you come on time, consider yourself late. Okay? In ISKCON, we sometimes have this culture of lateness. It's not good. So here, we want, you know, like a higher ethic. If you come on time, consider yourself late. Okay, let's see. Okay, next one. Have a look at this. Coming late brings the consciousness of the group down. You may or may not have heard of the late Ravi Shankar sitar player who taught George Harrison. You heard of him? Yeah. I was told when he had concerts, the doors were open until the set time, then the doors were closed and locked. No one could come in, no one could go out until the concert finished. This is what I heard. Yeah, so coming late brings the consciousness of the group down. Anyway, you know, if you get caught in the traffic or something happens and you're really too busy, come in late and we will not make a cynical comment. But try your best. Please come in on time. Better late than never. Yeah, okay, here's just a very practical point. We will be doing partner sharing, like we've mentioned, at the beginning of each day anyway, from time to time during tomorrow at least. And if you come late, your partner, if it's just the two of you, will not have a partner. And then it shows the holy names that you are serious. Okay, next one. We're just trying to psych you up a bit here. Be committed. There's a difference between hoping, wanting, and being committed to achieving something. And there you see, from low level to high level, from left to right. Wish, hope. I wish I could do something. I hope I could do it. I'd like to do something. I'll try to do something. I want to do something. I'm committed to doing something. So that's a sort of, they're different degrees. You know, Krishna consciousness, we really want to sort of increase the degree. One devotee was asking me today, was just making the point that when he first came to Krishna consciousness, he got really fired up. Then after, like several months, what's your name, Prabhu? I forgot. Sushil. Sushil Prabhu was saying. But then after some time, like now, several months later, I mean, he's still with us, he's still doing it. But, that feeling of urgency or just the experience, that heightened sense is not so much there. But we want it to be there. And not only can it be, but it should be. And if we do things right, it will be. Without having to sort of, really psych yourself up. Okay, so let's see. Neighbourhood. We are north of Nottingham here, aren't we? Yeah.
A long way.
One of his friends, local man. So here's some goals. You can just maybe note these down, at least briefly. To learn and apply techniques and attitudes in your japa. Learn, apply techniques and attitudes. We are going to try to get into that sort of thing. Yeah. And imprint these things in your circuitry. So hopefully they don't just sort of fizzle away on Sunday afternoon. Next, to get a greater taste for chanting, so that japa becomes what you want to do rather than what you have to do. Prabhupada was asked, it's recorded, very interesting conversation, you should read it. How do you know when your chanting is of good quality? And Prabhupada answered, but it was obvious he didn't really want to answer. He just said, initially, you'll know your chanting is of good quality when your chanting is of good quality. The devotees pressed him a little further. And Prabhupada said, you will know that your chanting is of good quality when you finish 16 rounds, but you feel, why just 16? Why not 16,000? He says. Anyway, look it up. It's a very interesting and nice little discussion. So number 3, we want you to have experience. Feel something. We don't want to just be theoretical. We want you to really feel something get some impact in your heart, more profound experience with the holy names on a consistent basis. In other words, to give you a foundation for that. Next one. Did you get this one?
Yeah. So now it's number 4, yeah?
We're on 4. Let's go to 5. We want, on the other hand, to create an internal resistance to bad japa. Natural resistance to demand a higher standard of yourself. Right. Number 6. Oh, we want you to experience, we want to experience that there's nothing but the holy name in all the 14 worlds. We were once on Navadvip Mandal Parikrama many years ago. Jayadvaita Maharaj was asked to give a class after a big kirtan. And he repeated this line, the Bengali, what is it? Chodra Bhuvana Maje. Nama vina ki. What is it? Nama vina kichu nahiko ara choda bhuvana maje. There's nothing but the holy name in the 14 worlds. He started his class with that and said, that's the end of the class. Seriously. And that was the end of the class. There's nothing but the holy name in the 14 worlds. 7, we want to help you, or at least stimulate you, to organize your life and priorities in ways that support good japa. Better time management. Yeah. Time management based on a sense of priority. Okay. And last but not least, next one. Okay. Creating mindset and thus a habit of consistently improving your japa throughout your life. It will not just end Sunday in the middle of the day. We want to strengthen give or at least strengthen a foundation based on chanting the holy names. Okay, you got that? So devotees, now you're scribbling things down. Great, thank you. Well done. Now we're going to go a little bit more into the heart of things. These are just, aspirations, ideas, goals. What about actually, in practical terms? Next slide. We want you to write down, what do you want? What do you want? 3 things. What personal goals do you have for this workshop? You may not have thought about it, but you can think about it. for a minute. Let's get serious. Personal goals, which can mean correcting some of your problems in Japa. So you could say, I want to get my Japa to be more attentive, for example. I want to get inspiration to get up early every morning. Notice it's goals plural, it's not just goal. It's goals plural. Look at your Japa, in your mind. And what should you, what would you like to improve, introduce, delete? As far as your Japa, what would you like to achieve? And then secondly, why? I would like to achieve X, Y, Z because when I do this or don't do that, then something happens or doesn't happen. You follow the idea? So why? There has to be like a real logic behind it. And if or when, perhaps we should have said when, but let's just say if you manage to achieve your goals, how will you feel? Notice the word feel. Rules and regulations tend to sort of not encourage feeling, although they're essential in many ways. But we would like to feel, when we chant Japa, we would like to feel. I remember, I can just tell you a little experience of mine in Seven Place, London, end of December 72, or first few days of, first few days of January 73. First time I visited the temple, they gave me some beads. Well, first time I visited the temple, any temple of ISKCON, was London, in around that time, right at the end of 72, right at the very beginning of 73. I walked through the door, met a devotee. I don't know if any of you have met Dhira Nayaka Prabhu. He has not been around for even back in the 70s. He had already disappeared. So I walked through the door and I asked him, "Are you a spiritual master?" I was looking for a spirit. I was really looking for a spiritual master. "Are you a spiritual master?" He looked at me and said, "You look really spaced out." My first exchange. And walked away. But I was determined, so I didn't let it just, freak me out or disturb me. Next was Subhag. I'm sure you know Subhag Maharaj. He was brahmachari then. Came down the stairs. And I asked him, "Are you a spiritual master?" And he was very nice. Well, you know what he's like. He was like that. Very gentle, pleasant, and, interested. And he said, "No." But then he took me into the temple room, showed me Radha London Ishvara. Yeah. So anyway, then he went on his way, and I met someone else, and they said, "We chant 16 rounds a day. Here, take some beads, chant." Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, all right then. I never chanted on beads. So I chanted for half an hour. I managed 2 rounds, but my mind was sort of distributed across the universe. in different directions. You know, I didn't even know about being attentive. And I was just, yeah, sure. And I wasn't getting any feeling from it, I would say, at all. Maybe just frustration even. And I was thinking, you know, maybe this is not for me. But there are other parts of Krishna consciousness I found interesting. So, you know, I persevered. But then, and then shortly after, means like a week, I moved into the temple as a guest. And I'm still there as a guest. And, you know, so now I'm resident. And after a few weeks, one morning during Japa, I realized I was hearing the mantra. And I was really kind of absorbed in it. And my mind had become free from its anxieties. And I was really feeling good. Really feeling really good. And then the thought just came to me, this is what they've been talking about. But what it was a feeling. Yeah. Or even a few feelings. So here we want you to consider how you would like to feel if you are successful in achieving whatever you've written down regarding the other points. So here we go, devotees. Now, here is something more. Sentence to be continued. Well, let's put up, you can hear me, let's put up next slide. Right, now this is very important. Now we're going deeper into things, going a bit deeper into our hearts. We want you, devotees, we want you, seriously, I'm not joking, we want you to close your eyes, and make a prayer in your heart, thanking the holy names for appearing in this age to offer you Krishna prema and just to offer you everything in Krishna consciousness. Please make a prayer in your heart to the holy names. Thanking from the heart the holy names for appearing. They didn't have to, but they appeared for you to help you. And then we want you to meditate on Srila Prabhupada and thank him for bringing the holy names, either directly or indirectly, to you. Not just to the world, but to you. Meditate on Prabhupada and thank him for what he has done for you by bringing the holy names to you. And then we want you, try to remember, think of the first person who introduced you to the holy names, and thank him or her for introducing the holy names to you. Thank them. Thank them. Because, okay, you can open your eyes. Because Krishna consciousness chanting of the holy names is just so nice. And the gain, the benefit we've already received, and what to speak of more to come. So it's all just so wonderful. But we must never forget where we have got this from. Gratitude. Gratitude. And just not just taking for granted that I've got it, okay, away we go, because I've got it. Gratitude. Connection. Gratitude means acknowledging deeply a connection which has really substantially benefited you. Okay, next slide. Some more prayer. Let us pray that over the next couple of days we develop a greater taste, attraction and appreciation for the Holy Name. That we take this for life and we develop an unshakable desire to consistently improve our japa. And let us make the same prayer for all the other devotees here. Let's see. All right, let's go on. Where are we here? No. Okay, next slide. This is an interesting point. Pray in regards to these things. Pray as if everything depends on Krishna, but act as if everything depends on you. An apparent contradiction. All right. Okay, next slide. Here we're just talking basically about what we're going to be trying to do, kind of in principle. So japa is not a mechanical process. So we're going to be learning many things to improve our chanting, but not just in a mechanical way. Next slide. Your japa blueprint. We all have one. We all have a japa blueprint. A habitual way we chant because it's just the way we do it. So we're calling it a blueprint. It's a habit, unconsciously performed action. We want you to upgrade your blueprint. Japa blueprint 2.0. Next will be 3.02. So, okay. Now, this is just for your information. So we're going to learn new and better habits and things which will help us. Okay, next slide. Quality japa, not quantity japa, is our immediate goal. In a nutshell, quality japa, not quantity japa. Next slide. The goal of Japa is not to simply finish a quota of rounds somehow or other. Have you ever had the experience of being busy and it's like 8 o'clock at night and you were busy, so you're tired, and you look at your counting beads and you think, oh, I still got 6 rounds to do. Oh no. Yeah. You know, if you really get into it, you won't get into that situation, at least. If you get into it, it will be much less. Because you'll get up early and you'll just do your rounds as much as you can and as nicely as you can in the morning. So, okay, next slide. If your focus is on completing a fixed number of rounds, the number becomes the goal, and the number becomes an obstacle to the quality, to quality japa. And next slide. From quality japa comes the taste to easily finish your quota and to increase the number of rounds you chant. You know, we've had the experience and seen devotees have the experience many times. We had the 64 rounds day. We're going to have a 32 rounds day because of, time constraints. But it's nice. That 64 round day, the next day, you chant 16 rounds and it's like nothing. Yeah. Oftentimes 16 rounds, you've got to work at it. But the next day after the 64 round day, in many cases you just feel 16 rounds just a breeze. Adorable. It's just, it's next to nothing. Here's an interesting little quote. Next slide. If you can read it. You can die anytime. When you chant your 16 rounds, you should think, this is my last chance to cry for the mercy of Radha and Krishna. And when you come to the last round, you should think, this is my last chance to try to please Radha and Krishna. And when you come to the last mantra of the last round, chant in a way that they are convinced. And when you come to the last hooray, think that if Krishna didn't hear me with all these mantras, let me call on Srimati Radharani with my last breath. And then we should chant another 16 rounds in that same mood. This is His Grace, Ayendra Prabhu. Okay, let's keep it there. Keep it there. Now we are going to do something a little different. Devotees, this is our Japa retreat, Japa workshop. And we're not just going to talk about chanting Japa, we are going to chant some Japa. Right now. So please get your beads and please pass me my beads. We are going to chant around. And don't be like some devotees who I meet from time to time. That, anyway, let the rose come back. Yeah, if you haven't got your beads here, you can just chant. want to chant around on your fingers? Let me just show you. You learn this when you get second initiation. It's a sort of a development. When you get second initiation, you have to chant Gayatri mantras, each one 10 times. And there's a way to count. First of all, this finger, the middle part, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I remember when Prabhupada gave me Gayatri, he showed me that. And he did it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you do it. Okay. But anyway, really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then that's the first 10. You then, on your left hand, that's 1 10. Then you do again, you chant 10, second 10. You follow. And when you've got done 10 tens, you just chant another 8 mantras. If you ever get locked up in prison, like I did, for distributing Prabhupada's books, you can chant your rounds like that and scratch the number of rounds on the wall of the prison. That's what I did. I don't know if the scratches are still there in the prison. Okay, what am I going to say? Yeah. Now, as much as possible, try and keep your beads or, at least something to chant on. If you can use a counter. Beads are, of course, better. Try not to be one of these devotees who I meet from time to time. And, we decide, okay, let's chant some japa, and I say, where are your beads? They say, oh, I left them at home because I finished my rounds. In other words, I won't need them because I finished my rounds. It's always the right time to chant. Now, we can, let us be democratic here. We can just chant around ourselves as we chant generally, or we can chant around together. Actually, each mantra chanting together. Have you done that before or much? Yeah. It's an interesting experience. I like it. Many like it, some don't. What would you like to do? Would Prem Sankirtan would tell us?
Do what?
Do what?
Do both.
Or do both?
Both time.
You mean one and then another?
Yeah.
I see. Thank you for the suggestion. Lovely suggestion. We might run out of time.
I suggest we all do it together.
Okay. I think let's do it together, and tomorrow we'll do both. It's a time factor thing. And I was just thinking of one round. And one round together takes 12 to 15 minutes. It's slower. All right, so devotees, here we go. We'll chant together. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Very good, very good. Good, okay. So now, devotees, now, let us just see here. Okay. Yeah, okay, next slide. This is a special exercise, very practical. Okay, there it is. I want to just say first though, our idea for this retreat, Japa workshop, is that we hope that as much as possible, we all can gather here at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. As much as possible, please come. Mangalarti will be at 5, and then Japa will start plus or minus 5:30 or 5:40. Tulsi Puja will be there. Yeah. So, okay, Japa will start about 5:40, whenever the other things finish. And then we'll chant Japa until 7:30. Till 7:30, so it's, almost 2 hours. It's a good time for really focusing on our Japa. And then the program will flow on from there, and it'll go through the whole day actually. Of course we'll stop for prasadam and maybe have a little break here and there. But about the morning program specifically and our Japa, this is what we want. What is on the slide there, you see. Please note it down. What are you going to do to prepare yourself? How are you going to prepare yourself for chanting tomorrow morning at 5:30 or 5:40 till 7:30 to chant the best Japa you have ever chanted? How will you, first of all, prepare yourself? It means like attitude, consciousness, internal preparation. Anyway, the other points are there. Second point, when you're actually chanting tomorrow morning, what will you do? How will you actually chant? So it's the best japa you have ever chanted. Not just the usual. Maybe your chanting is generally nice, I don't know exactly. But now we want to actually improve significantly. First of all, preparation in the meantime, tonight, first thing tomorrow morning. Preparing yourself could include chanting, for example, the Guruvastakam, the prayers to the spiritual master in Mangalarati, really absorbing yourself in the message of those prayers. Just as an example, preparation. And then 2, how are you actually going to do it? And number 3, again, it's feelings. Very important part of Krishna consciousness. What would you like to experience? How would you like to feel? What would you like to achieve in tomorrow morning's japa? And then we say, write this in the present tense, means, I am like that. I am feeling like I've never felt before. You get the idea? We're trying to project ourselves into tomorrow morning. Yeah. Anyway, one way or the other, what would you like to experience or achieve? Feel in tomorrow morning's japa. So please note those things down. Think about it. Don't just jot down the first thing that pops into your mind. I mean, you can jot it down too, but we'd like you to really consider these points. Because we want to see development, we want to see change. Very positive. So I'll give you a couple of minutes. We've got till 8, it's another 2 or 3 minutes. Just try and think about this, what you really want, and how. How might you do this in ways perhaps you've never done before? Not just the same old thing. So we've got another 1 minute. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, devotees, you can always add more later. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock, devotees, and there's just one final part. Final, very important part. Jagannatheshwari, come back. Very important. It's for everyone. It's for everyone. This is really important. Next slide. Next slide. I know you're very conservative people. We want you, please, to embrace each other as Vaishnavas out of love and appreciation. Seriously. All of you. All of you. You're a really good group. Thank you very much. Okay, well done. If your Japa tomorrow is this good, it's going to be a great day. Break down the barriers. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Shri Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki.
His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami Ki. Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki. Japa Retreat Ki. Getting a taste for the holy name Ki. Coming here at 5 o'clock in the morning for Mangalarti Ki.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,